Hey y'all, it's Joffrey here, the cranky old gay guy. Oh, so I'm sitting in the studio and it is pouring outside. I mean, like raining cats and dogs. I don't know what that actually means, but it's happening right now. Today we're going to talk about enlarged prostate. If you have one, or I have one, and it makes you cranky. Well, I will raise my hand. Old men talk about their prostate, and I'm going to talk about mine. Yeah, mine's been enlarged for some time, and in 2019, I went in for a procedure, and I guess it helped me pee better, but I didn't notice I had a problem with peeing anyway. I was, passing urine. My issue was that I was waking up 15, 16 times a night to go to the bathroom. Um, and I could go all day, go normally or once or twice. But when I would lay flat on my back, almost within 10, 15 minutes, you feel like you have to go to the bathroom. So I went to a urologist, and after they put the scope up there, and yes, they go right through what you think they go through, um, they saw that in my prostate was swollen or large, but it was also pushing up into the floor of the bladder. And he showed me on the camera this little appendage that was sticking up in the floor of the bladder. And what happens is that when I would lay flat, any liquid in my body, because you're always producing liquid and putting it into your bladder, you just might not have to go to the bathroom until it gets full. But whenever any liquid would touch this little appendage, it would trigger the nerves in my bladder and say, "Hey, you need to go to the bathroom." And it would wake me up, and I wasn't getting any sleep. And this went on for months. And I finally went to a urologist, like I said, and he showed me what was going on. And then we talked about treatments, and he went over several, and I've got several listed here. There's something called a transurethral resection of the prostate, which is a TURP, where they stick a instrument up your dick and they remove prostate tissue. I did not do that one. Then there is the transurethral incision of the prostate, where they cut the prostate to make it wider for your urethra to pass more liquid. But again, passing liquid wasn't my issue, so we didn't go that one. Transurethral evaporization, where they stick an instrument up your dick and they go to the prostate, and then the little needle shoots out there and it shoots steam into your prostate, which kills cells, which make your prostate shrink. Now, that's probably the one that sounds the most reasonable to me, but anyway, we'll get on with it. I didn't do that one either. Green light laser treatment, where they go up your dick and they shoot your prostate with this green laser that's supposed to kill cells and shrink it down. That wasn't even offered to me. Aqua ablation. Says the urologist uses a high pressure, he'll go up and use a high pressure liquid water to blast away prostate cells, which will make your prostate smaller or shrink it down. That just sounds like it's going to cause your prostate to swell up because it's being bruised. But anyway, that wasn't offered to me either. And all of those are considered invasive. Now, the minimally invasive are the next list that were offered to me. The prostatic urethral lift, also called the UroLift. That is the one I did. Cover that in just a second. The rhizome therapy. And this says a urologist inserts an instrument into your urethra and moves it to your prostate. Next, oh, wait a minute. That was the steam thing. That's what I just mentioned. What did I say before? With the aquablation, that wasn't it. It was electrovaporization. Okay, this was it. Electrovaporization is they don't use steam. They use an electrode which zaps your prostate and kills the cells. Okay, and that's what that one was. And then this other one, which is the rhizome, R-E-Z-U-M, rhizome therapy. They insert an instrument up your dick, a needle pops out, shoots steam into the prostate, kills cells, shrinks the prostate. TURP, which is the first one, where they go up inside and they just cut away part of the prostate. That, it says, is the most effective treatment. I didn't have that. That is probably the one that's going to take the longest to recover from as well. I believe that's what my father had in the late 80s. Um, he just kept saying he had been roto-rootered, and he was on a catheter bag, and it was just bled for days. So I wasn't really interested in that one either. So we're going to go back and tell you what I did for mine. I went through the UroLift, where they put an instrument up your dick. They go to wherever the urethra is pinched. The instrument then shoots out these little metal wires into the sides of the urethra to the outside of the prostate. And then they cinch them tight like that, kind of like to squish your prostate together, which opens your urethra. The best way to describe them, they're metal, like a surgical steel. They're like a thread. They're like the tags on clothing. If you ever have a tag hanging from your clothes, you know that plastic thing, it's got a little wide end on one side and then a little T on the other. And when they shoot it in with this needle, the tags, they go in like this and they pop open, so the tag stays in. That's the same thing that they do with the UroLift, only it's metal. And I think that the wide part is some kind of a bead or shaped like a grain of rice, because when I've had an x-ray since having the surgery, the radiologist who reads it noted that I had radioactive seeds in my prostate, which is one way that they treat prostate cancer, is they'll put a radioactive little seed into your prostate and it kills the cancer. Sometimes those seeds, I guess, stay forever, and other times I guess they dissolve. But this isn't that. It's not cancer. These aren't radioactive. That's just what they look like on the x-ray, and the radiologist who was reading it didn't know my history, so that's why that was put in there. How did it work? Well, I went in. It doesn't hurt, but it's incredibly uncomfortable. What really bothered me was the noise, because they have you on your back and your feet are up in stirrups, and they got this instrument shoved up your dick, and then they got a scope and this other instrument. So it takes two people to operate. There's the doctor and then the assistant. And I don't know who's doing what as far as the lights, etc. I imagine the doctor's the one pulling the actual trigger, which shoots that metal thing into your prostate and then cinches it up. And that's what was jarring, is that every time they did that, it sounded like an air stapler. It went ka-chung, and my body would flinch. And then they would say, quit flinching. Don't breathe so fast. Take slow breaths. Relax, relax, relax. Well, it was really tough to relax because he did it 7 times. So we were done. They said, okay, go to the restroom, make sure you can urinate. I did. But by the time I got home, I couldn't. They had sent 2 disposable catheters home with me and said, just in case, you need help urinating, put one of these in there and it'll let you pee. So that's great. But I got home, and within like 20 minutes, I had used both of the disposables that you're not supposed to use again. So I called and I said, hey, can I go to a drugstore or something and get these? Because I'm swollen shut and it hurts and I cannot use the restroom. And they said, oh, let me talk to the doctor, because it was 5:30 and they were going home. And she said, if you can get here within 20 minutes, I can give you a permanent reusable one, because you can't just go to a pharmacy and buy these. Why? I don't know. You have to go to a medical supply facility. I don't know who makes these rules, but that's the way it works. So for the next like 7 or 8 days, I had to self-cath myself like every 20 to 30 minutes, and because I was swollen shut. And I called the doctor and I talked to them, and he said, oh, well, if we knew that you were going to swell up, we would have given you prednisone or a steroid, something, before the surgery, and that would have prevented it. Well, it doesn't do a lot of good after the fact, does it? And over the next couple weeks, yeah, I started peeing better. It's very uncomfortable to pee because it burns because you got all these scrapes in your urethra. After 3 or 4 days, that it's you can pee. It's just kind of tight and it's not comfortable, but it's not really painful. I found that when I laid down, I still had to urinate within 10 to 20 minutes. So I'm on the phone to the doctor and they said, oh, okay, let's make an appointment. So I go in the next day because this I want taken care of. And I said, I don't think it's working because, I'm still having to get up several times at night to go to the bathroom. And he said, oh, well, we didn't treat the part of the prostate that was in your bladder, pushing into your bladder. We only treated the pinched area. Well, I was unaware that I even had a pinched area, but that's what the 7 UroLifts were for. And it was like, well, why didn't you do them while we were here? And he goes, well, you seemed really, really uncomfortable, so I thought it was best to stop. So I've gone through this, and I've gone through the recovery, and it did not solve the problem. So we made an appointment with a doctor again. Only this time we're going to do it in a hospital because they want to knock me out. I said, we can't just do it in the office. And he said, no, we don't have an anesthesiologist on staff. So you find out which hospital that the doctor has, I guess, usage rights for. And that's where I went. And I went in. It was quick. It was easy, pretty much painless. I wake up in the recovery room and you have a cath bag on and you do have to wear that for 24 hours. So, and you empty it and all that stuff. You learn how to do that. That was just a bug flying by. But after that, I had a day of discomfort when I urinated after I removed it. Because again, your urethra had tools in and out of it. So it's kind of scraped up. But after that, it was like night and day. I could lay down and sleep for an hour, 2, maybe 3 hours, and not have to get up and go to the bathroom. Now that was late 2019. The UroLift was earlier in 2019, the original. Since that time, it is, like I said, it's been 5 years. I'm getting up twice a night to go to the bathroom, usually, if I don't drink anything. If I drink anything after like 6 o'clock at night, water, I might get up another time, so 3 times at night. But if I have coffee or caffeine of any kind late in the evening, I will be up several times during the night. Or if I have trouble sleeping, even if I haven't drank anything, because I was getting up so often to go to the bathroom, my mind is trained that when you wake up, before you go back to sleep, go to the bathroom so you don't have to go again. So that's really annoying trying to break that habit. Overall, did the UroLift work? Yeah, I think it did. Did it cure it? No, there is no cure for that. However, I was reading today and there is another, let me just find the name of this. There's another treatment that's not, it's still, I think it's approved, but they haven't done long-term testing yet. It's a life-changing new treatment and it's called prostate artery embolism. And what they do is they put a cut in your wrist and they shove, what do they call it? Just a minute, let me find the name of this thing. Well, I'm not finding it, but they cut into an artery or a vein in your wrist and they shove this camera thing, an instrument, and they guide it. They're looking, I don't know if it's an x-ray or what they're looking at, but they're guiding this thing, and I don't know how they do it, but they guide it up your arm and then down through your body and to your prostate. And then they go into the artery that feeds the prostate with blood, and they inject microbeads, which then block those arteries, which cuts off the blood flow, which makes your prostate wither and shrink. Now, I don't know what the long-term effects are. According to this study I was reading, there haven't been any bad side effects. But they've only been doing it, I think, for a few months or a year. I would think if you cut the blood flow off to your prostate, eventually your prostate's going to atrophy and just die. And if that's the case, it says it doesn't affect sexual activity, but your prostate does this to squirt everything out. How's that going to happen if your prostate is atrophied and shrunk up to nothing? Also, it's considered the pleasure zone or the P spot. So where's the pleasure going to come from? The deep orgasmic pleasure if your prostate is shrunk up and gone. So that's something I will need to talk to a doctor about. I will talk to my primary care. I have an appointment next, I think in September. And he may know about it, he may not. He might say, you have to talk to the urologist. So we'll take it from there. Anyway, everybody, September is National Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. So make an appointment now so you can go in and have your prostate fingered by your doctor. I mean, I have had my prostate fingered so many times, I don't even remember all of them. However, I do know that at least twice they were done by a doctor. And I don't mean a doctor I was dating. I mean an actual primary care physician. The first one, she had me lay on my side and she went up there and she pressed it. And in my mind, I heard her. And she goes, okay, everything's fine. And she hands you napkins because she's lubed up your butt. You can clean yourself up and get dressed. And as you're doing that, I stand up and everything's oozing out because evidently the prostate was full when she went. And yeah, it was like a really slow leaking ejaculation. I'd never had that before, so that was odd. The next time I had it, it was a male doctor, and it was like bending over the exam table, and they went up there like this, and they went and digitized with their finger. No squirt, no mental sound, everything was fine. And then once I had a professional prostate massage because I feel that I am not wired, that prostate is not wired as far as being touched and sensation wise. I just don't notice it. So this professional prostate masseur was saying, okay, what does that feel like? You feel that? What's that like? What's that feel like? And I said, well, it feels like you're going like this. He goes, I am doing that. How does it feel though? And I said, it just feels like you're tapping my prostate. And he goes, right, but is it pleasurable? I say, no more pleasurable than tapping the back of my hand. He goes, oh, So then he did a different kind of massage in there. Again, no pleasure. It wasn't any special sensation. It didn't feel any different than any other part of my body. And that's where I determined that my prostate is not wired as a pleasure center. And guess what? Neither are my nips. Now, I'm told that you can practice and get your nips wired, but I even bought a book on it called The Nipple Whisperer. It's available on Amazon, I think, and Barnes & Noble. I haven't finished the book. I did go to the author's book reading at a Radical Fairy house, and there were probably 40 guys there. And he gave a demonstration of how he would do it as a one-on-one if you went to him. But it's not instant. I mean, it's going to take time to do this. And maybe I just haven't got the patience to do that or self-stimulate my nips while I'm experiencing pleasure to mentally tie the two together. And I don't know why we're on nipples, because this is about prostate. And like I said, September is National Prostate Cancer Awareness. So go get checked, do your blood work, see if your PSAs are at the right number. Prostate cancer is very prominent in men who reach a certain age. The older you get, there's more chance you're going to have prostate cancer. That's my understanding. I'm not a doctor, so don't quote me, but have it checked anyway. And online it says anyone over the age of 50 should have it checked every year. I'm negligent on that. I haven't had it checked every year. I have had, well, no, I guess I haven't had it checked by a doctor. Okay, that's where we're at. That's where I'm going to leave you. I'm going to send a shout out to anyone who's currently suffering from HPP or hyper blah 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 prostate blah blah blah, because again, I don't remember the actual name of it. I just noticed BPH. But what I can tell you is it's called benign prostatic hyperplasia. That means your prostate is going full lobes. Okay, so if you're suffering from it, hang in there and see a urologist. There are 6 or 7 different methods. And if you do the bead one, the new one, please post a comment, update us, because if that's the case, I will look into having that done to me, because it would be great to be able to sleep the entire night without having to go to the bathroom. Okay, I'm going to let you go. Everybody knows who today's video sponsor is. 35 Letters from a Mother to a Son. It's a book available on Amazon. Information is in the description of this video. That's about it. I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.